Our next guest is the creative director and owner of the Melbourne-based brand MilkBar. He started his business in 2020 and since has become one of Melbourne's most exciting success stories. Simon, welcome.
This is great.
Can you tell me the story behind your brand and what inspired you to start it?
Yeah, so growing up, I always knew I wanted to do something in the creative field. I think earlier on, I wasn't sure what exactly that was. I think early on, I was looking at film, and like films always really influenced me. Fashion was always a really big part of like my teenage life. So I was in year 12. We are going through COVID and started sewing clothes. By the end of the year, just put them online and kind of went from there. I think it's funny. I'm actually going through the process now of like next week I have to make a proper brand deck
Mm-hmm.
now that I have like employees and I'm working with people, like I was telling you before,
Yeah.
having to get all that stuff on paper.
Mm-hmm.
But before, like, I think I've always known what the world I'm building looks like in my head. And I think later on I found out that that skill is like categorized as like art direction.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had a good feel for what that was. What inspired me to start it? I don't know. I think in terms of the motivation of actually starting it, I just knew I always wanted to do something creative.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think I like knew I wasn't great at working for other people. I knew
Yeah.
I kind of always wanted things on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't didn't do great at school. And yeah, I guess just the passion. Yeah, I don't think these words have ever come out of my mouth, but like the passion to express
Yeah.
myself or, you know, live a life of like creative projects.
Yeah.
I don't know, just literally felt like a necessity. How else can I put it? Yeah, literally just felt like I couldn't do anything else. It's the only way I can really explain it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you describe MilkBar's like brand identity and philosophy?
The way that I've explained it in the past, and again, I'm going through this process of like
Mm.
having to get it down on paper, so this is going to be a good test. It always kind of existed in my head. I think, we were speaking about earlier the influence of cinema. My bestsellers influenced by like the 50s, kind of the male leads of the 50s, like a James Dean or a Marlon Brando. And whether I watched those films early on or not, those images and that iconography is always around.
Yeah.
And I think that influenced me. We're talking about Grease and John Travolta and how, John Travolta is a big muse for me. I think there is like, I guess, an old school style of masculinity that, funnily enough, is like kind of a unique selling point in fashion today. So when I do stuff that was being designed and being sold for like 50 years in the past, now it seems so unique.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I made those things because they weren't available.
Yeah.
They used to be available, but they're not anymore, and just kind of like bringing them back. The other thing, and it comes back to that conversation we're having about, being creative people that have grown up in traditional areas and grew up around a lot of an environment with like more traditional values. I talk about this concept a lot when we get into this, like, oh, what's your brand philosophy or whatever. I talk about this concept a lot of like modernism, postmodernism, and metamodernism.
Okay.
And these are such complex, like, philosophical terms that I don't actually probably have a grasp on completely. But modernism's like the concept of, if you think of like the white picket fence and that kind of traditional dream and family values. And when people, it was more popular probably to believe in religion. And then that is kind of like a group thought philosophy started to break apart, like when the world wars were happening, and then Vietnam War, and people seeing that on TV and seeing how horrible it was. People stopped kind of believing in the government. They stopped believing in religion because they were seeing such dark things happening. And that's where stuff like punk rock or even hip hop music came out of. It's kind of like these are anti-establishment movements. And then so that's postmodernism, and then I think again it's so complex that I probably don't even have a grasp of it. But metamodernism is kind of trying to put it all back together again.
Yeah.
And I guess the thought is, you know, there's a lot of great things about modernism
Mhm.
and like those traditional values, and then yeah, we shouldn't always trust the government, or we shouldn't always trust what's being sold to us or whatever. And
Mm.
I think when I read into that philosophy and when I found out about it, I felt really seen because,
Yeah.
like we said, we come from like environments that are a mix of those things,
Mm.
and even just our generation as a whole is kind of a mix of all those things. We do, as any kind of like young generation does, we do rebel against certain status quos, but
Yeah.
what I like to think is that our generation is also like level-headed enough to go, no, these like traditional things are actually of value as well.
Mm.
And we're going to kind of like try get the best of both and put them together. So I would say MilkBar is like a meta modern brand. And yeah, there's a lot of the visual language comes from a modernist era. Um, yeah, sometimes it's probably more modernist leaning than
Mm.
like postmodern, but I think I'm always trying to like, yeah, the casual nature and the formal nature and the blend of it all.
Mm.
Again, I probably haven't like summarized it super succinctly, but I know that's what it's like in my head. I'm going through this process next
Yeah.
week of kind of summarizing that a little bit better.
Mm. As a small business owner, what does authenticity in fashion mean to you?
Yeah. Okay. To me, yeah, it's obviously it's hard to define because it obviously looks different to everyone.
Yes.
And there's no right answer of what's
Mhm.
authentic. You can't tell someone what's authentic to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's like an honest expression of your identity and your emotion,
Mhm.
because just because you came from certain roots doesn't mean you identify with them.
Mhm.
Maybe you grew up listening to music that was completely different to like everyone else in your area.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that music's not authentic to you because you felt it and you connected with it for whatever reason.
Mm.
So I think, but as a small business owner, I think, yeah, I guess it can be in the context of fashion. It means not always following trends, kind of just doing what you're drawn to. A good example is, you know, the fitted t-shirt that I sell at the moment. I put that out not this past summer, but the summer before, and
Mm.
it didn't sell at all. But
Really?
yeah, it didn't sell at all. It didn't do well at all, and
Oh.
I I knew, first
Was
of all, I loved it, and that's why I put it
it
out.
was the same one like that I'm wearing now?
Yeah, no, the
Oh.
cut hasn't changed at all, nothing.
Oh.
But then I put it out. I think I had the perspective to know that it would be more popular and it was coming, but it just wasn't the right time yet.
Right.
And I put it out the next year. I actually knew I was so confident in it that I did about 3 times the stock in the year before, even though
Oh.
it didn't sell well,
Yeah.
and it worked. And then obviously we've scaled so much more since summer.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess that's an example of authenticity and how I relate to authenticity.
From your perspective, because you've been in fashion for a while now,
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years. Wow. From your perspective as a small business owner, how do you view the growing issue of fast fashion brands imitating independent designers and other small businesses?
Yeah. The way I think about it is, and yeah, I don't know if it's the answer you're looking for, but the way I think about it is it's always going to happen, and
Mm.
it's a part of going into any business,
Mhm.
especially fashion, because there is that creative element of it.
Mhm.
And I just think you just have to be ready for it. Like
Mhm.
I think you need to like, for lack of a better term, you got to be ready to like play with the big dogs.
Mhm.
And for example, me, I was early on this trend of fitted t-shirts, and now like I better be ready for this summer in Australia. Like,
Yeah.
because I see it already. I know Cotton On's doing it. I know Zara's doing it.
Really?
Yeah, and not to say that they got it from me, and not to
But
say that I own this idea, but the way that creative trends kind of work is that, you know, these things are going to happen, you know, with or without, for example, me making a fitted t-shirt, but I was just early on the collective cultural thought of that being a trend. Um, yeah, in terms of it being a growing issue, that's more because I would never put that pressure on someone else that owns a business. But for me, I go, this is going to happen. How can I be as prepared and ready as possible to combat that?
Yep.
And yeah, we can go into that and like how I approach, you know, that going into summer. But yeah, I just go, it's going to happen anyway. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to like play with the big dogs and like, you know, what do you need to do? You need to like create an offer as strong as possible that people want to buy it from you and not them.
Yeah.
That's all I can do. You know, just thinking like practically, you know.
So when you see cases of small brands and businesses being copied, what does it make you reflect on about the industry as a whole in like society today?
Yeah, it's obviously a product of capitalism and lack of creativity at these bigger brands. You know, you would know, like you're at fashion uni, like the jobs at these bigger brands. There's people that are buyers, and they buy small brand stuff, and they decide what they're gonna keep from that design and what they're gonna change, and that becomes their next season. As a whole, yeah, I guess it doesn't surprise me.
No.
I think that's a part of the industry.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but reflecting on it, I think the right customers know that.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why someone will buy something from me and not from a bigger outlet. And those customers keep a business like mine alive. I think in terms of broad customer bases that don't care about fashion, you know, they're going to go to those alternatives and they're going to, you know, miss aspects that fashion lovers, you know, buy fashion for. For example, you know, I think my cut of t-shirt is great. I spent years sampling it. I literally did 8 samples. I sewed them myself.
Oh wow.
Um,
From your
and
parents' garage, did you say?
yeah, not garage, but yeah, my parents' house.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've only just moved out. Like we've had this office only coming on 2 months now.
Really?
So yeah, I was working out of my parents' house for a long time. And yeah, so I think the customer that likes my stuff, they put it on and they see that I put that much effort into it. There's also a bigger brand and a, you know, art direction and storytelling that people are buying into when they buy my product. And you know, I can't tell a guy that's not interested in that buys a cheaper alternative to my product that he's wrong, because to him fashion serves a certain purpose, and he's going to go out there and fulfill that. And it's like saying, you know, we're talking about Black Swan before.
Oh yeah.
And like that's a beautiful high level artistic movie that has obviously like moved you. You can't tell, you know, your friend that you grew up with that she can't watch Adam Sandler movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly what you mean, yeah.
But I do understand your perspective. Like it's wrong. It's unjust when they copy smaller brands. It's unfair.
Yeah.
And
it's still like happening, and it's still like,
and it's always going to happen.
It's always going to happen.
And you're right. It's gotten worse because of the internet and because of how fast they can push factories now.
Yeah.
Also, how readily available the research and access to small brands is for bigger brands to like copy.
Mm-hmm. Going off that though, do you think that social media has made it easier or harder for small brands to maintain authenticity?
To maintain authenticity. Yeah, I hear from some brand owners that it can be a lot for them and they get caught up in trends or how well
Mm-hmm.
other businesses are good doing and think, oh, maybe I have to change this about my business to be successful. Um, you know, and those thoughts can be really hard to kind of wrestle with when you're not doing well. And
Mm-hmm.
my business was not doing well for the first 4 years, and we've been very lucky since the start of this year. It's gotten a lot better.
Mm.
But I'd definitely say there's positives and negatives, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Positive
I
to everything.
I would never ever maybe even started or
Mm.
and definitely not have had the chance to get to this point
Mm.
without social media. I'll
Would-
give you an example. Like, in the past, how's fashion work? You need to get into wholesalers. To get
mm.
into wholesalers, you need to be designing 12 months ahead. You might need to go
Oh,
to Paris Fashion Week to get bought by certain shops in the world.
okay.
Um, so right there, I need to have the time and the infrastructure to design 12,
Mm-hmm.
12 months ahead. I need to be able to afford to go to Paris
Yeah.
or get a buying agent. I need to be able to, um, a lot of these shops, they won't take you unless you have sometimes 15 pieces,
Mm-hmm.
20 pieces. Some won't take you if you don't have a collection that's 30 pieces.
Oh, wow.
So, like, social media and the internet gives me an opportunity to go, oh, I'm going to put out one piece.
Yeah.
I can afford to make one piece, and I could always afford to, even like at the start. Yeah, maybe it was pre-order.
Yeah.
It wasn't even my money, but
Mm-hmm.
I could afford to go out there, advertise to people, and it
Yeah.
connected with them enough to go, you know, I'm gonna pre-order this and
Mm-hmm.
legit fund my business to be able to make this product. And I still do pre-orders, like still a part of my business, trying to move away from it. But
Isn't your recent collection pre-order like pre-order like the new colors of the Raglans? Are they pre-order?
those aren't pre-order.
Uh.
But yeah, now it's less of like a funding thing and
Mm-hmm.
more of like people want to buy this. We have an order coming in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
They can kind of put it aside for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But at the start, it was legit like I'm sewing these.
Was
If
it
you,
just you?
it was just me, yeah,
Yeah.
at the start. Um, I'm sewing these. I can't afford the fabric. You know, we'll pre-order it. I'll go buy the fabric with that
Yeah.
money. I'll spend a month sewing them all, and then I'll ship them out.
Mm.
So that is not something that would have been possible without social media.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, yeah, if we want to talk about the negatives, yeah, kind of like I said, there's a lot of visible competition that can get in the head of brand owners. Maybe it can kind of stagger creativity. I think the other thing that people are struggling with at the moment is, beautifully art directed content
Mm.
and world building and brand directed content as opposed to content that does well. And that's a really tricky thing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, there's a lot of brands run by amazingly art directed individuals
Mm-hmm.
that aren't going to see the light of day through social media because their content isn't engaging enough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the negatives. I try play both sides. It's like I make the engaging content to bring new eyes in, and then I
Mm-hmm.
also do content that I know will actually tank and not do well, but because I like it.
Yeah. Do you believe originality is still rewarded in today's fashion market, or do you think speed and affordability is taking priority?
Yeah, I think this was one of the questions that when you sent them through, um, I really had strong feelings on.
Okay.
So yeah, the first thing I would say about speed and affordability is um, not to single anyone out, but I think that's more of a thing in women's wear, which
Okay. No.
I'm not in that world, but I think there's so many options in women's wear. So one of the ways that brands get a leg up is speed and affordability.
Yeah.
Because there's so many options. Being $10 less
Mm-hmm.
might be the thing that gets a female to buy a singlet from X brand instead of
Mm-hmm.
the other brands.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, like that's definitely a massive thing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Fast fashion, etc., etc. Like pushing factories to make things quicker,
Mm.
make things for cheaper. It's really the big brands that have that power. If
Yeah.
a big brand has a factory and they're bringing that factory in, you know, tens of millions of dollars a year,
Mm.
they kind of own that factory and they can just go, hey, you know, we need this faster and cheaper, or you're not going to have, you're not going to have us as a client. And that kind of like, if you want to call it bullying, happens in all industries, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it definitely happens in fashions with the big brands. Like you even see, you know, crazy, but like one of the most luxury brands ever of all time, Laura Piana,
Mm.
like they just found out they were like, you know, using, you know, under award rate labor and stuff like that. And this is like the
Oh.
most luxury, like beyond Louis Vuitton
Yeah.
luxury level brand. Um, but yeah, when you're a big company like that, and you know the argument would be their stockholders or whatever pushing them to make more profit,
Yeah.
and then that gets taken out on
Mm-hmm.
the, you know, on labor. But
Because I
other,
also feel like consumers today, they just want everything. Like they see something on social media and then they just want it straight away.
yeah, definitely. And you know, coming back to me, like yeah, maybe not as affected by that because I'm in menswear, but you
Mm.
know, we see it all the time. You know, but we've also had a lot of success with pre-order and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, and I think it's been harder as we've gotten bigger
Yeah.
because when we had a small audience, people probably had a stronger connection with the brand and they understood that it was just this one guy behind it and he's
Yeah.
doing his best, and people were
Mm-hmm.
really sympathetic, and people lose that sympathy as you get bigger.
Because they expect you to then keep up.
Yeah, or they just like they see me in the same category as, you know, bigger brands
Yeah.
that
And
have,
it's, yeah, not the same.
yeah, whole teams and
Mm.
you know, have been around for decades and
Mm.
stuff like that. I will say, what was the first part of that question? It
Do
was
you think that originality is rewarded
yeah,
at
this was
all?
the part that like really sparked me.
Mm.
Um, I think it's actually like a necessity, because if I was going off trend, I would be nowhere. Like I would legit be nowhere. And if I was going off trend, a bigger brand would be able to offer it at the same time as me,
Mm-hmm.
would have better trend forecasting than me,
Mm-hmm.
and would offer it for cheaper
Mm.
and in more colorways. And they would have it at the shop around the corner from you and you can try it
Yeah.
on. For me, being original and going with my gut and going, oh, I want to fit a t-shirt. I believe there's people out there that want that,
Mm.
and they want to feel like that 1950s movie star as well.
Mm.
That, if you want to call that originality, authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
that was an absolute necessity for me to get to any sort of point to where this business is profitable at all.
Yeah.
You know, so I actually think it's beyond rewarded. I think it's actually a necessity to be original because, like you said, there's so many options and there's options for speed and affordability. How else could you possibly beat that? I can't beat a Cotton On or a Zara at
No.
that. I will never win. I'm not even going to try to do
No.
that. But what I
They come
can,
out with new stuff every 2 weeks. Their website's constantly changing.
I can't do
No.
that. You know? So, and nor will I try to or try
No.
play or beat them at their own game.
Mm.
What I can beat them at is, oh, like I really like this, and I don't think anyone else realizes that this is cool.
Mm.
But I'm gonna make this product, and I'm gonna express in the marketing how cool I think this is and how I would style it,
Yeah.
and then we'll see. You know, some of those things they're going to be way off the mark, but with something like the fitted T-shirt, I was lucky that a year later, people I was right and people wanted that. So
That's
yeah,
actually, that's mind boggled me that it came out. You brought it out like a year ago or something, and no one was interested.
well beyond that, you know, when I started sewing, I started sampling the fitted T-shirt when I started sewing, but it was so ahead that I didn't even like. I'd been wearing baggy t-shirts all the way through high school,
Yeah.
and no one was wearing them then. But when I started sewing, I really wanted to make a fitted t-shirt
Mm-hmm.
and sell it, and I did make a fitted t-shirt. And I would wear them, but I actually remember thinking to myself, if I want to have any chance, I have to do baggy t-shirts.
Yeah.
And I did that for the first 3 years or so.
Mm.
And yeah, if I was bigger, I probably could have been more successful with those, but I was just learning and I was starting
Mm-hmm.
out. And 4 years later, I finally put out the fitted t-shirt and it was still too early,
Yeah.
you know? um, but yeah, that originality eventually pays off.
Do you see any potential positive outcomes when small business styles are replicated by bigger brands, like increased awareness, like people will see the brand and be like, that's such a cool brand, or do you think it's can be quite largely damaging?
Mm. Yeah, it's a really good question. Um, so one aspect of it is, I think the only way that it can be, well, there's probably two ways that it can assist in growth is if the small brand owner milks it. And I don't mean that in like a condescending way, but it's
No,
like,
I know exactly. No, I do.
hey, Zara ripped this off, and they
It's
kind
all
of,
over TikTok like that now.
yeah, and they rally the troops. And I think every small brand has the right to do that. Like, and it's a great marketing technique, and it's proof of concept. It's like, hey, we're so good that we got copied by Zara, one of the biggest fashion companies in the world, or Uniqlo, whatever. Um, and so that's probably one way that it could be helpful. The second, the second is if let's keep using the reference of Zara.
Mm.
If someone that is kind of, let's talk about like a younger man who is kind of going through his fashion journey, if he is introduced to the fitted t-shirt through Zara just because of a lack of awareness, and that's kind of where he shops at, and because of, and maybe he's at that point in his fashion journey where he wants to start, looking at more interesting brands or smaller brands, or happy to pay a little bit more for an item, he might get introduced to that silhouette through a Zara.
Yeah.
And then he might find out about my brand and get his hands on a t-shirt and go, oh no, like I'm actually happy spending a little bit more on this, and I love the story that the brand's telling, blah blah blah. Even that's a stretch, but it would happen. um, yeah, I would say it is. It's more damaging though.
Yeah.
Like I know this whole interview I've been like super accountable, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna deal with it, whatever. But it is definitely damaging, and like,
It can be quite defeating for a business that is probably like smaller and they don't have much reach.
yeah,
It,
for
it would
sure.
be it'd feel very defeating
I
for
guess
them.
I guess a better example, just me trying to sympathize and reflect on it, because I never let, when these things have happened, like I've never let it stop me, or like, you just got to keep moving.
Yeah.
But a good example is like, I was one of the, like, if not the first, I was one of the first people to kind of like take AFL streetwear and kind of
Yeah.
recontextualize it. And I guess the goal's always been to make it more elegant. And then, you know, probably early on really didn't get enough credit for it. A lot of bigger brands were starting to get opportunities to collaborate with the AFL or with AFL clubs, and just had to cop it on the chin. It motivated me. It motivated me to like put out better footy pieces. Until very recent, like that motivation actually created like my most successful collection. We had our biggest week of sales ever because I was like, so, I don't know if annoyed's the right word, but I was so motivated by the fact that I wasn't getting the credit for that. And
Yeah.
I knew that if I didn't do something about it, like nothing was going to get done about it. Like no one's gonna come save you. Now, what's cool is like in the end, we kind of came full circle, and I got to collaborate with Carlton, and we put that out a few weeks ago, and that was really successful. And I think through some of the like press we got for that, like like I've finally kind of like been recognized for some of the early work I did, not
Yeah.
just the Carlton collection, but people kind of reflecting now and going, oh yeah, he did do that, and it was really elegant, and it
Mm.
was like an interesting new take. And I think because I didn't allow it to demotivate me,
Yeah.
I was able to kind of come full circle and get that happy ending. There was definitely a time where it it could have demotivated me. I didn't
Yeah.
allow it to, but um, yeah, for sure, it was hard. It's like certain brands that don't care about AFL in fashion or whatever,
Mm.
such a niche thing, but it's obviously something that I like spent so much time thinking about
Yeah.
and um, feel like I was the first one to do it justice,
Mm.
and then for a long time didn't get credit for it. And once like I had a mate, that I met when I was really young, and he was much older, and he's always been in fashion. He's worked with like multiple big fashion businesses
Mm.
locally, and he said like you don't you don't get anything for being early, and it's just like
Oh wow.
it's an honest truth. Like you can be like, hey, I was the first one to do a fitted T-shirt, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean anything, and no one's gonna come like give you $1 million because you thought of it first. Like what you really need to do is, like I said, be ready to play with the big dogs and
Yeah.
have that idea, but build yourself to a point where you have the infrastructure to actually execute on it and
Mm-hmm.
compete with the bigger businesses that are going to come for your neck.
But going off that as your final question, what strategies, because you're now continue, like you've been doing this business for a really long time now, and would you say you've just started to grow like more awareness now and everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What strategies have you developed or will you continue to use to maintain your authenticity and like your niche in the market where when copying is common?
Yeah. Um, you've caught me at like really perfect time to answer that question, because to go on a kind of long-winded answer for it. Basically, we've employed people now, and because I've employed people, things that I was doing get delegated to other people.
Right. How big is your team now?
I guess you would say 3 people.
Okay.
Yeah, not including me, so like
Mhm.
4 including me.
And
And
that's big for a small business because it was just you to begin with.
yeah, for sure. And there's obviously like other contractors involved and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But in-house team is, yeah, technically 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like as I'm kind of like delegating these tasks, I was like, well, what do I do now? The reason I had that question was because, you know, traditionally I'm a creative, but
Yeah.
along the journey, probably through some of those moments that were quite demotivating or whatever, and I felt a little bit powerless in the face of like, I don't know if you want to say competitors or the industry or the nature of the industry, I became more business smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've like made a lot of growth in that in the past 12 months. Like going, yeah, I am a creative, but like if I don't learn this other stuff, I'm gonna get nowhere. And in the course of that arc, not that I lost the creativity, but you need to kind of like put it in your back pocket or
Yeah.
put it on the shelf for a bit. Because like, for example, if you look at what I've done this year, is we had a bestseller in the fitted t-shirt, and I've just like done everything I could to just keep it in stock, because it just keeps selling out, and we've expanded the color range, and you know the singlets do well also,
Yeah.
which is kind of similar look. And I've just done everything this year to continue to restock them,
Mm-hmm.
continue to keep them exciting with our branding and our marketing, and expanding the color range in those items. Um, and now I've come back to this point because I did all that work, and um, I have to be creative again, because all those business things have been delegated to people that will have more time for it and will do it better than me. So yeah, now I'm in the position to nurture that creativity and that authenticity. And we are talking about it before. I was like talking with my design team and other people in house about what the goals are for next year, and I want to do like very specific capsules around specific themes. And
Yeah.
I work with a design team that um, have worked for decades in this industry, and teaching me design process and R&D process, and at an elite level. And I'm trying to like get to that stage as quickly as I can. And I think that's the answer. Is like, well, the first step was like building an infrastructure where I can afford to be creative,
Mm-hmm.
which has taken me, you could say, it's excelled in the last year, but it's also taken me 5 years to get here,
Mm.
where I can actually stand back. And of course, I'm going to still be doing the business stuff and
Yeah.
all that side of things, but I can actually step back and make creative decisions, but also have the budget to execute on creative decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now it looks like, you know, our first capsule for next year is very inspired by like 50s tailoring.
Okay.
So it's
Oh,
going,
interesting.
it's going there. First of all, it's 50s tailoring because that's my gut feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to sell well. I don't really care. The idea is that I like this. I'm going to do it. Let's see. First of all, let's execute on it, but then let's see
Mm.
if we can make it sell well
Mm.
through how we present it.
I also feel like you have a grasp on your consumers now better than when you first started as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. But when you have a bigger audience and you have the infrastructure to continually message that audience, they kind of grow with you.
Mm.
So they kind of step into your world, and they grow into these other trends, if you want to call it that, with you.
Yeah.
And you're almost leading them there
Mm.
all the time. Um, so yeah, to summarize, for example, yeah, we're doing this 50s tailoring capsule, and I now have the infrastructure to step back and be creative,
Yeah.
go look at the old references and go, all right, the lapels are this wide on that blazer. Um, there's no, there's padding in the shoulder. There's no padding in the shoulder.
Mm.
I guess though, yes, we can get into that and like the R&D process of that. But to answer the question, having building the infrastructure in the business to be able to afford to go with your gut feeling
Mm.
and afford to go with whatever feels authentic or feels original, I think doesn't get spoken about enough,
Right.
because people talk about creative and commerce like it's in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, like, yes, like the fitted t-shirt is like, I love it and it's like the best thing ever for me and I wear it all the time. But there's also a reason like why I haven't made a blazer yet, and it's because I couldn't afford it. And that's just the honest truth. Is like, no, you need to get the business to a certain point to be able to actually afford to be creative.
Yeah.
I for years, what did I make? I made t-shirts and hoodies, and it's
Yeah.
like that was the most affordable thing I could make. But yeah, I think that's actually how you remain authentic, is like building yourself up enough and like
Mm.
building the business and building a team and picking the right talent and the commerce of it all that isn't so sexy, actually building that up enough to nurture your, you need to create an environment to nurture your creativity and authenticity, because otherwise, there's a reason why people aren't authentic or creative or all of the above, and it's because the environment wasn't supportive of that.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
I'll leave it at
No,
that.
no, you're so good. Keep going. You can have
No,
more.
no, I think that pretty much summarizes it. Is
Yeah.
like, I think people, you know, it's very easy to question like, why didn't this brand do that, or why didn't this
Yeah.
brand do this, and it's because often the environment isn't like conducive to that kind of behavior or
Yeah.
activity. If you have stockholders breathing down your neck going, why aren't we 10% more profitable than last quarter?
Mm.
You know, that
Mm-hmm.
that's going to put pressure on the designers, that's going to put pressure on the creatives, tighter deadlines, blah blah blah, releasing stuff every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How can someone be creative in 2 weeks?
Weeks.
I have no
Copying.
idea.
Copying.
I'm not that good, so like, yeah, creating an environment that is conducive to creative, original, authentic thought. I probably couldn't summarize it better than that. Yeah.
No, yeah, it was perfect. Thank you so much. That was actually really good. Thank you.
No worries.